Welcome to Deadbolt Society's live stream. I'm here with Vinny Peone. We are very excited to talk marketing today. And if you're in the chat, welcome. If you're here live, welcome. If you're listening to it in the podcast, welcome as well. Make sure you get on Deadbolt and watch these live so you can interact with the chat. That'd be a little bit more fun for you guys. But if you're listening to it in the car, that's cool too. And I would like to also, before we get started, do a shout out to our sponsor. Deadbolt Society is proudly sponsored by Bowman Vision Media, offering high voltage marketing for low voltage companies. From social media to video to digital advertising, Bowman Vision Media is your go-to source for all your low voltage marketing needs. Visit bowmanvisionmedia.com or our Deadbolt sponsor space for more information. All right, Vinny, the one and only. I've been very excited to talk to you. I see you all over LinkedIn. Why don't you introduce, just in case nobody knows who you are, introduce yourself and give a little background.
So thanks for having me on. I've been very excited about this as well here, but I'm Vinny Peone. I'm the Director of Marketing for Eastern and Intellitech Security Services. Eastern Services, upstate New York, Intellitech Services, downstate, tri-state area, and also Florida. I'm a father of two, girl dad. I live, right near Syracuse, New York, right by the Eastern headquarters. Got 4 years of experience in the security industry, 3 years beyond that as a low voltage cable tech. And as far as my role in marketing, I don't actually have any formal training or education or experience in marketing other than, personal branding via social media. It was always a requirement of anyone being in a sales job, but not necessarily one that you get paid any extra for. And certainly not one that there's a plethora of entry-level jobs available in if you don't have any training. But I became the Director of Marketing at Eastern and Intellitech last October in 2024, and had been doing some social media work for a while before that.
Sweet. What does a day-to-day look like for you? I know we kind of talked a little bit before this, but is your whole day marketing, or do you do a little bit of other things for Eastern? And what does it look like?
I feel like most marketing professionals would agree that no 2 days are ever the same, and that's even for someone who's just doing marketing. Because I started with Eastern as a technician, I still have clients who will reach out to me first and foremost for any service or sales needs. And I'm always happy to take care of them. As the technician, I know the facility like the back of my hand. So it's quicker for me to take care of it. And that's really more so for Eastern. For Intellitech, I didn't have that background there. But like any marketing professional, my day starts by checking Instagram before anything else. And I check all of our social media platforms right out of the gate. Email, I don't get as much via email, but I do look out for any kind of contract, New York State contract opportunities, any possible sales leads that have come in that could get over to the sales team. The mornings, usually a lot of content creation. A lot of the time we're cooking from 9 a.m. till noon or so. Break for lunch sometimes, and then a lot of editing, a lot of video editing, primarily in the afternoons, and kind of planning for the rest of the week. Believe it or not, I'm not somebody who has a very strict content calendar. I don't have it planned out, weeks ahead of time where I know exactly what's going to hit. A lot of the times in the morning, we're brainstorming ideas and we're executing it right then and there and posting it either same day or a couple days from then. And we've got some where, we know kind of what we want to hit ahead of time, but for the most part, we're doing everything very on the go. It's very fluid, very dynamic. So no 2 days are the same. I do spend a lot of time in the field as well. I like to get out with the technicians and, shoot stuff as it's being done. We don't stage a whole lot. I like to get candid shots. I like to get the installation as it's happening. I like to get genuine reactions and emotions of things, and I think that's definitely helped the authenticity of our content significantly, shooting it that way. But yeah. I travel out to Long Island probably once a month or so to shoot content for Intellitech for a week, and then of course every now and then you've got trade shows. ISC East, ISC West. I'm going to a marketing summit also in April, so it's busy, and again, it's very exciting. Yeah. Probably significantly different from a corporate marketing role where you're in an office all the time. Realistically, I never know exactly where I'm going to be until the week starts.
Right on. Yeah, no, that's cool that you're just, you wear a lot of hats. It probably keeps you pretty busy.
Absolutely.
I totally understand that, you get a creative idea in your head and you got to do it right away, 'cause otherwise it's gone. For me, I'll forget about it. If I don't write it down, it's gone. So
That's
yeah,
the thing.
getting to it
It's
right.
easy to do when you're a creative person and you see stuff all the time. You're surrounded by social media now, and you'll see something else, whether it's a new trend or, challenge, whatever. You see something else that inspires you. A lot of times I'll see something, I'll screenshot it or I'll save it intending to, when I'm not eating dinner, maybe I'll shoot this, the next day. And, it's so easy to forget about. And when we come up with these, we kind of just try to run with them, immediately when we can, and at least get it started so it doesn't get buried. And I always say, we have more ideas for content than we have time to actually execute it. So it's what you're seeing is, the best of the best. But then there's a lot of gems that do get buried every now and then too. Like, for example, I wrote and recorded a full length, rap music video, and that never saw the light of day. So you never know.
Yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm curious, what kind of social media platforms are you running for your companies there?
So Eastern, we have a couple more than Intelitech does. Actually, I think the only extra one we have is TikTok. So Eastern's got LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Intelitech started out with just Facebook and LinkedIn, which I took over in October. And then we added on a YouTube for them as well as Instagram. And Instagram, obviously, it works so seamlessly with Facebook. You can kind of share the stuff between them very easily. It's kind of a no-brainer to have Instagram if you're posting videos and pictures. And the reach is unparalleled. I mean, TikTok might be the only thing you can have a greater reach than Instagram, but it's just too unpredictable, the politics of that, to really put all your eggs in that basket right now. But YouTube, we just launched, which I know we were going to discuss, but that was one that it's more of an educational resource for us. That's where we have, 57 different, not self-help, like tech support videos on there. And right now it's only for DMP. So any one of our clients who has DMP can go on and see how to operate a keypad, how to change out a battery. And that's primarily on YouTube for Intelitech. The goal is to work with all of our vendors to get all these videos, have them branded each for Eastern and Intelitech, at least for our most common products. So we have those there as a quick resource. And because a lot of times, most of the calls that we get into service are for battery replacements or for basic keypad operations or account changes. So if we can save someone from having to wait for a technician to come out, save them some money as well, it's a huge win all around. But
nice.
I see
Josh.
Josh has a question here for us.
Josh has a question. What inspired you to move towards marketing versus project management or sales?
It's funny you asked that, Josh. So when I was a technician, we didn't have a project manager at that point, and kind of the coveted role here amongst the technicians was project manager. You get to be out of the field, you get to be at a desk, maybe do panel work every now and then, do some programming, but for the most part, out of the field, off of ladders. And that actually drew me to that role for a while, because obviously this is not my full background, working as a technician. I wasn't always climbing on ladders. I did it for a few years, and like any technician, it does wear down on you. And especially one who started kind of, late into my 20s. But I gravitated towards project management, but there just wasn't really an opening for it at that time. It wasn't anything we had posted. It wasn't something that was really available, and it had been discussed. Lots of people were interested in that role. But again, it was just one of those things. We had an installation manager. He was basically our project manager. Our salespeople are also all very technical as well. They were basically managing their own projects in addition to the installation manager. So it's one of those things. Do I wait for this to open, or do I try to find value elsewhere? And I did for a while try to kind of take on an unofficial role of project manager. I was helping with layouts. It was fun. It's definitely not something I was passionate about, where I'd be excited to come in every day and make layouts and engineer stuff. But what got me into marketing was we were expanding to Rochester, New York, and that's where I'm from. And I kind of figured, hey, maybe this is a way I can move forward with this company. I can, go on social media. I could try to wrangle up some business with people that I went to high school with, people I went to college with, and, find us new business in Rochester. And maybe I get an attaboy from the salespeople. Maybe they throw me a bone, or maybe it helps me move into a sales role. And I just started posting on there. I discovered a lot of people early on. I discovered, Benji, the door dork. I discovered Jake Voll. I discovered Chad Cooper, and I saw the content they were posting on there. Uncle Bear, obviously, as well. And I saw the content they were doing. I'm like, this is fun. This is engaging. This is exciting. I love it. And it reminded me, back when I sold cars or back when I was a personal trainer. That was the kind of content I was doing on social media for personal branding, just little stuff to stand out from the other salespeople, to stand out from other personal trainers. Like, this stuff was fun, and they were taking something that most people aren't that excited about. They're not like us, where we get excited about a new panel or a new camera feature. But they're taking the stuff that was somewhat mundane and making it, entertaining. And I was like, I love this, and I can do this. And I just started running with it on my own, just not because anyone asked me to, because I liked it. And it took a few weeks of doing that. And Cooper McDonnell, our company president, he asked me if I'd be interested in doing it for the company, managing our LinkedIn and eventually our Facebook as well. And it started out simple, take a picture of an install, drop our logo on it. And that's how I discovered Canva, was for the background removal tool.
Yeah.
And it started out simple, but then we started doing more, we started doing giveaways. And we did a big Yeti giveaway last summer, actually 2 summers ago now. We came up with some ideas for videos to start shooting, and it just gradually, I became our digital content manager while I was also still doing installations 95% of the time. And then the content started getting more and more. We ended up winning a Sammy Award, which I had to, bring on set here. And
Nice.
it's taken off so much to the extent of, like, we go places and, inside and outside of Syracuse here, people are like, oh, you're the guys from Eastern. And like, the brand recognition from it has just been crazy. And it's grown to the point now of obviously becoming the director of marketing and having it be my full-time responsibility. So I would say, Josh, the too long didn't read version of that would be marketing was always something I was interested in, something I was always passionate about, just never had the opportunity. And I just took the chance to, make the opportunity for myself here. And fortunately, I work for an employer they're very good at identifying strengths amongst their employees, and they empowered me to run with that idea, and made the opportunity happen. So,
right on, dude. That was a pretty lengthy answer to Josh's question, but I appreciate it. We have a few more questions in the chat. Just a reminder, if you're listening, make sure you get your questions in. We're answering your questions live. Bear has a question. What sort of things do you involve yourself in to help grow your marketing skills and understanding of marketing as a whole? There's education, think tank, blogs, newsletters. Bear wants to know, how do you become a marketing genius?
Marketing genius is definitely a stretch, but I appreciate that. Honestly, I actually just started listening to a podcast. I'll have to comment, drop it afterwards. I want to say it was something just like social media marketing podcast or school, and I can't really speak for the quality of it. I literally just started it. It seems like they know what they're talking about, but I just realized how much idle time I have when I'm driving, where, instead of listening to gangster rap, I could be learning something. So that's a new venture. Honestly, a lot of it is spending more time than I'd care to admit on social media, and just doing a lot of competitive research, and not even just with competition, seeing what's working outside of the security industry. And as silly as it seems, staying on top of like trends on social media, because there's a lot of the stuff I would never do, and it would just never work for us. But there are things that come up every now and then that are like, hey, we could definitely do this in our office. These guys got 1 million views doing this. Great engagement on it. This is something that could, that could get us some solid reach as well. The education for marketing for me is something obviously was lacking. A lot of it was just my background. When you're selling cars and you're also living in a coastal town, you have to advertise 10 times as hard as the dealer that lives closer to the city, because you got to try to pull those customers, give them some kind of reason to come up to your little dealership there, as opposed to going to the auto mall. And so I had to learn by a lot of trial and error from previous roles. And really, even here, we don't have this gigantic team that I have to run things through. It's me and it's Cooper. If we're not sure on something, we'll use our team here as a focus group. But we we have an idea, we run with it. If it doesn't do well, we notate it for the next time. We look at, what time it was posted, how we utilize tags and hashtags, if the hook was, maybe the issue. So a lot of it is just learning on the go. We are going to be going to a marketing summit in April as well, where I'm hoping to really pick up a lot there from, some of the top marketing executives in the world. But nice. For right now, a lot of it is trial and error, and then just studying, a lot of studying on social media.
I've been doing some marketing posting on myself, as you can see with Deadbolt, trying to get the word out for that. I personally have a question that wasn't on our list, but just thinking about it right now. Do you experience different types of content working better on different platforms? Obviously, TikTok's video. Instagram, you can do pictures or video. Facebook, seems like if you put a video on there, it kind of gets lost. LinkedIn, all I see really are static, graphics. What's your experience with that?
I see the algorithm as something that's very fluid. Really on all the platforms. On TikTok and Instagram, it's more what you'd expect. Obviously, video. And there's no better way to achieve reach on those two than through Reels. Facebook, we don't do a whole lot with Facebook. Obviously, if it's going on at the other platforms we put out on Facebook, I find that the more personal things on Facebook do a lot better if it's somebody's work anniversary. Really more of the very personal things, because like most people, they're not using Facebook for business. It's to keep up with family, to post pictures of their kids, their pets, whatever. So we like to if it's a big employee milestone or an achievement or something that's very up close and personal, that's usually the stuff that does better on Facebook for us, because the employee can see they can tag, it will tag them in it. They can share it with their family. That stuff always does really well there. If we win a big award locally, we'll have a big group picture of the team. Static images still do very well on Facebook. LinkedIn, it's honestly, people tell me all the time that the stuff that they don't expect to take off does really well, and then the stuff that they put so much effort into ends up being a flop. And honestly, there's a lot of stuff. Even when you post a video, they have a lot of different things in there that analyze the content to see if it's something that's spammy or educational. A lot of kind of back end stuff that we don't even know about as much as we say we know the algorithm. But you can look at some posts that we did this week. Cooper McDonnell posted a picture with his dad and brother. Static image. It was a pretty short, to the point post on it. Not a crazy amount of tags or hashtags, and I think it was over 250 engagements on it. More than that. I think it's coming up in 300. Ton of impressions. Yeah. I posted one of some random kind of knockoff security product I saw at Target. Same thing. It's like 40,000 impressions on it. But then I'll edit a video that takes me 2-3 days to edit, and it gets 40 likes on it. But I would say it's really LinkedIn's a little harder to figure out. If there's good value there, if it's got a good hook to it, like anything, if it draws people to actually watching it and engaging with it, a good call to action. Benji, the door dork, is very, very good at calls to action. You can look at his posts for a lot of time for that. He always has oh, what do you think about this? Or dorks, how would you fix this? There's always something like that in his post that prompts you to actually comment. And comments are one of the biggest indicators of success. If you get a lot of comments on something, it's going to take off.
Yeah, that's what I found too. Getting those shares, those reposts, and the comments, it's huge. Bear has another serious question. Do you have any large goals or big dreams ahead in this industry?
So I achieved what was probably my 5-year goal, much quicker than 5 years, becoming the director of marketing. And, I never expected to have been able to do that for Eastern and also Intelitech. I just, it was nothing that was ever really discussed, just kind of something that came into fruition anyway. And there's a whole backstory to that, but yeah, this was where I wanted to be, 5-10 years from when I started here. I didn't even really know it at the time. The thing is, I had a sales background, and I always wanted to get out of sales. I couldn't stand it. Didn't like working for commission. Didn't like being on the clock all the time. Basically, it was a very especially as a car salesman, it was just a hard pill to swallow. Like the amount of time you could really sink into something just for it to not pan out anyway. I told myself I was never going to do it again. I wanted to work as a technician, and ended up, finding my way here as a technician. And I fell in love with the industry, the products, the company, and I wanted to go back into selling. Whether it was directly selling it in a sales role or selling it to everybody as a marketing professional. So director of marketing, definitely achieved that dream much earlier than anticipated. I would say, my goal, it's not necessarily tangible, but I want Eastern and Intelitech to be household names in our, prospective markets. I don't want people to think security and think of, a DIY thing that they can order, online, or think of, the blue octagon. I want them to think, security is synonymous with Intelitech. Security is synonymous with Eastern. That's my long-term vision of that, and just, rapid growth.
Yeah. Something you mentioned earlier too, brand recognition, in the area is very important. there's a lot of security integrators that I've worked with and or heard of that, we're just word of mouth. We don't do anything for marketing. What would you say to those, and why marketing would be important for their company?
So, and I'll tell you kind of the same thing, when I initially met the team at Intelitech. They have been in business over 25 years. And to this day, I've walked a lot of job sites. I have never seen systems like what they put in. It's honestly unbelievable. And it blows my mind every time I walk onto one of the job sites, just the level of the work. But if you looked them up online, if you just looked up, security systems in Long Island, they're absolutely buried on there. And there's, a ton of mega companies that have bought up all the ad space, exactly the ones you'd expect, the billion-dollar corporations for, the entire first page. And you keep going, and it's a lot of other companies, maybe with smaller budgets, but they just do a lot more online. They're involved in a lot of things. There are a lot of articles. It would take you a very long time to find Intelitech, and they've done very, very well on just word-of-mouth marketing. And in my opinion, something like that, it should be reflected online. If you're the best at what you do, I want to be able to find you right off the bat. I don't want to have to look for them, especially as an end user. And that's, at some point, a lot of these smaller companies, not, the Intelitechs, but the ones who are maybe only doing, residential work in a smaller area, who maybe don't have, 25 years of experience, or they've got smaller teams. At some point, these corporations and private equity and these basically mega groups of other dealers, they're going to take that business. The word of mouth is only going to go so far when they're absolutely dominating social media, especially with our generation now, being the ones who are buyers and, getting security systems for their homes, apartments, and, people in purchasing departments being younger as well, too. They're going to be doing their research on Google, maybe even, they're on their lunch break and they see a Facebook ad come up for a security integrator. It puts that idea in their head that these are the guys, they've got these great ads. I see them everywhere. And it's not a matter of if it happens, it's a matter of when it happens. So, there's a ton of options out there. For us, we didn't have any kind of marketing presence. We had a website, it tracks very well. Even before I was doing what I was doing, it would come up, very high in the search results. But we weren't anywhere else. We weren't in articles. And it's done a ton for our brand recognition. And it'd be impossible to be in Syracuse and not have heard of Eastern Security after what we've done in the last year.
That's amazing.
So, I would say find a way to do it, to answer your question.
Yeah.
Even if it's something in-house, just, make your Facebook, get on LinkedIn for sure. There's a lot of resources out there for learning it, do some competitive analysis, see what other people are doing. But really, you want it to be your own. And when I talk to a lot of smaller dealers, a lot of people, they don't have the time for this. They don't have the know-how of it. So for something like that, that's when I would really recommend looking into a marketing firm, and one specializing in security, and not necessarily one that does advertising for restaurants, because they're not the same.
Right.
And if they don't know your industry and they don't know your company, you're going to be getting stock photos, from Adobe of a guy dressed up as a mechanic installing a camera with a wrench.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Those are fun to see. I know Benji I don't know if it was you or Benji that started a little marketing campaign showing all the websites and all the stock footage. Yeah.
We've both done it. I think it was part of my Only Fails movement that I had there. But he was pointing them out on different locksmiths websites. He was spotting a whole bunch of great ones of people, using a power drill to install, a Z-Wave lock, or as bears that, they're always wearing blue overalls for some reason. And, if our end users really took these ads literally, they think that the security, the alarm tech always shows up in overalls or a full jumpsuit. And that's usually not the case, at least not for us anyway, but I could be wrong, I guess.
Some Eastern European with a Russian accent. Yeah. So what else do we got here? How did you end up getting the gig at two different companies? Are they related? If not, explain how that worked out. I'm just curious, this role that you have.
The companies, they are sister companies, so they're both owned by the McDonnell family. Now, my direct supervisor at Eastern Security is Cooper McDonnell. My direct supervisor at Intelitech is the COO, Harrison McDonnell. So brothers, I report to each of them directly. Basically, where we were at, and I'm sure everybody knows my whole story of working in corporate marketing for 1 week. But basically, I had grown to the point where, I wanted to work in full-time, marketing full-time. I didn't want to be, selling. I didn't want to be doing installations. I wanted to work in marketing full-time. Like most integrators, they need marketing, but it's not a full-time need. You don't have a person putting in, 40, 50 hours a week doing your marketing. And while I could have justified that for Eastern, I could have, found the time to make more content, come up with more stuff. Realistically, we didn't need a person full-time for it. So ultimately that was why I decided to, move on from my role here and go into a corporate marketing role. And it didn't take a full work week of that for me to reach back out to Cooper, who fortunately, I was on great terms with. I left on good terms, wrapped up all my installations when I left, didn't just, take off after I put in my 2 weeks. But, we talked and I'm like, hey, is there any way we can make this a full-time thing? And he said he was going to have to get back to me. And he talked to his brother, who at that point, didn't have anybody running their marketing. They had a website, social media was pretty static. They weren't really doing a whole lot on that. And he was able to kind of make it work with both companies. And since we're not, we don't compete with each other, since again, we're sister companies, it works out perfectly. And very similar culture between the two, very, very different companies, very different clientele, obviously completely different areas between Buffalo and, East End of Long Island. But the values are exactly the same, dependability, expertise, integrity, innovation. It's there's a lot of parallels between the two. I met most of the IntelliTech guys in Vegas at ISC West last year. And at that time, I'd come up with the idea, how cool would it be if I did marketing for both companies? I mean, I was looking at their website, thinking like we could make some big updates to that. I could really blow you guys up on Facebook, LinkedIn. It wouldn't take me long to kind of figure out your target audience here and kind of run with this. And it just, at the time, it was only a dream. It wasn't really a serious discussion. But Cooper and Harrison were able to make that happen.
That's awesome. The fact that they brought you back was cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure if bringing up the that 1 week.
It's a no-go. No, my coworkers,
you wanted to talk about it or not, but
I bring it up here every day. It's one of those things you don't know that sometimes you don't know the grass isn't greener unless you go over and actually see it. And again, it was one of those things. It was not for me. Every single person I knew, warned, including my wife, my dad, everybody said, "Hey, you sure that's a good fit for you? Working out of an office, working on a whole marketing team instead of kind of being the marketing guy." And I had too much pride. I'm a kind of guy who, I had to see it for myself and realize very quickly I'd made a mistake. And again, I will never be able to express how grateful I am to have left things on good terms with Cooper. And not for nothing, a corporation will never do that for an employee. They will never create a role that didn't exist before and be that flexible with, creating the role for an employee. It's probably, nothing to that scale has probably ever happened at a corporation. And that's a huge benefit of working for a family business is that, they can really, make magic happen for their team when it's somebody that they want to keep, someone they want to grow with the company. They can, make a miracle happen.
Yeah. And I know you did a shout out last week or early this week about Eastern, holding fast to being a small company, turning down being bought out and all that so that they can keep that small work atmosphere for you guys. So that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Bear has another question. Do you feel like the marketing that is within our industry today is still very internally focused? Most marketing feels pretty like an echo chamber. What channels do we utilize to shift that or be more outward focused, looking to get in front of the end user client? Sorry if I was a little tongue tied on that one, but he's basically asking, we're all just talking to each other on LinkedIn. How do we get to that end user or not, I think, past our walls?
Mixing up the platforms for sure. LinkedIn, and a lot of the manufacturers are investing heavily in LinkedIn as an advertising source. Obviously, for B2B, that's where a lot of the decision makers are with companies is on LinkedIn, whether it's CEOs, founders, head of whatever department, director of IT. Most of them are probably on LinkedIn if it's a company you're trying to do business with. For commercial, that's fantastic. for the the next generation, and for more end users in the residential space, you absolutely have to be on at least Instagram. I would say, if I had to pick one other one aside from LinkedIn, it would be Instagram before anything else. And the reach is next level, and it takes time to figure it out. It takes time to figure out your voice on there. It takes time to figure out your story. More importantly than that, your target audience. And that's something that a lot of people don't really figure out. I mean, for example, my personal page, I've got a big following of football fans. I'm very engaged in a lot of the football pages. I posted an Eagles, and I'm not an Eagles fan per se. Bills fan. Eagles are my backup team after ousting the Chiefs here. Sorry, Bear. But I posted like an Eagles meme that had over 2 million views over the course of a couple of weeks. And, reached 1.5 million accounts. You'll never have that kind of reach on LinkedIn. Realistically, you won't. I mean, a lot of followers on LinkedIn is 20,000 followers. A lot of followers on Instagram is in the millions. And
right.
I would say that's how you reach people, and also making your content people focused. And that's something that a lot of people struggle with. And sometimes it comes off as cringy, but especially if you're, if it seems like you're forcing it. And there's a lot of companies inside and outside of security that do this really well, shooting content around with their team, shooting content with their actual end users. And I think that's the stuff that resonates the most with end users, is when they see other people using your product, see you talking to your clients, physically, in the field working with your clients. Even I would always recommend making it authentic. You could of course stage this. If you had more, time and resources, you could stage something like this and shoot a, high quality production. But I think the gritty, realistic things are what typically works the best. And you see that in a lot of industries. For us, I don't think there's anything better than we had one a couple of weeks ago, you might have seen, where Cooper bought our service manager, Dave Beloma. He got him a GNC Denali, an absolutely beautiful truck, or a Sierra Denali. Beautiful truck. We shot a whole bunch of series of clips of this, going down. The reactions were all authentic. Obviously, he knew he was going to be shooting it, but it was all in the moment. There was no reshoots. And, we had a ton of engagement on that. And it says so much about the culture here. It kind of tells Dave's story a little bit. Stuff like that. It's phenomenal. I think that's the way to engage with the end user now. And, of course, that's kind of, it's not fluff, but it is also feel-good stuff. Like, it's designed to do well. But doing stuff like that somehow incorporates your products into it, it's going to also do really well. And this is the biggest thing, and this is the number one rule. Not the number one rule, but it's right up there for sales. People buy from people they like and they trust. And the product matters. And it's not the most important thing. If I love someone, if they've absolutely sold me on them and they've sold me on the company, the product doesn't matter to me. Even if there's a better product out there, I'll buy from someone I like before someone I don't like, or someone I don't know. So realistically, it's all about just getting your brand, figuring out your story and your brand and getting that in front of people in an authentic way, especially in security. It's the most, the people are trusting you with their home, their family, their business. They have to trust you.
Yeah, definitely. And I know it's important to come across as authentic, because there's so many security companies out there that are using, stock images for their marketing. And, we talked about that a little bit earlier, but yeah, being authentic and is very important. What would you say? Would you say building a personal brand is also important? I know I just posted that I broke 1,000 followers on LinkedIn, and you're over here sitting with over 8K. So I know building a personal brand also helps, I would say with your company that you're working for as well, because they trust you and he works at Eastern. They must be a pretty good company because I like Vinny. Building a personal brand. What are your thoughts?
Their personal brand is everything, because again, people are going to buy from you if they know you, they like you, they trust you. It's also the most difficult thing, because you can't force your employees to be on LinkedIn, to be on Instagram and promoting themselves. And realistically, as a company, you don't have any control of what people do in their off hours. Sure, if they do, like if they break a law and document it, of course, that's, in most places anyway, that'd be grounds for termination. But, there's nothing that an employer can do to stop an employee from going out on the weekends, shooting something that's maybe not illegal, but it's not in line with company values either. It's very tough to manage an employee personal social media account. So it comes down to all just hiring the right people. And, at Eastern and Intelitech, and a lot of companies now, they're doing, PI or some other kind of personality assessment, maybe Wonderlicks as well, making sure that you're hiring the right people. And anyone who is, really good at sales today knows the importance of their personal brand, and that, especially maybe it's different in certain markets. Security, I think it's becoming more and more important. It was, very conservative for, since ever. But I think a lot more companies are realizing the importance of personal branding for their employees. Do you see employees who are maybe sharing collateral that their company's given them to post online? Maybe they're adding their own personal touch to it, or they're engaging more with other posts. It's becoming more and more. I mean, it takes a certain kind of employee who actually wants to shoot their own content, come up with something original, be in a video. Nobody wants to be in video. So that right there is why I would recommend for most companies, if they don't have the time for it, if they don't have, people who want to be on camera to look at outsourcing for marketing, with the right partner, of course, but it's very, very difficult to find people who want to be on video. But I think that's the best way to really make a splash today, to really develop your brand, online, and to be recognized, is by shooting creative video.
Yeah. Do you have any tips or tricks on how to kind of grow that personal brand a little bit? Just on the personal marketing side?
This will seem gimmicky, but the most important thing is just the content. It's creating fun, engaging, authentic, unique content. And, I talked about this with someone else before, and they're like, "Oh, I can't do the stuff you do. Like, I'd be too embarrassed to do the stuff you do." And I told them, I was like, my stuff is not in line with you. You're not me. It's like, you need to come up with stuff that is, that's more you, that feel like, otherwise it's forced. Those are the ones, that come off as cringy, that they're going to get skipped. They're not going to get a lot of engagement if it makes someone uncomfortable, if they can tell you're forcing it. So it's to come up with, creative, unique content that you believe in, that you're putting the genuine passion into, and to just be doing it all the time. I mean, I post, it's slowed down a little bit for my personal page. I'm posting, whether it's myself, as Eastern, as Intelitech, every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. If I come up with something timely that's trending, I might have like 4 posts in a day. My personal page, I'm posting, probably 3 or 4 stories a day typically, just to constantly be out there, utilizing tags and knowing when appropriate, knowing who to tag. And you see something that's spammy when somebody's just tagged 100 people in it who they've never met, who, they've never, even discussed this with. There's dropping tags left and right because they're trying to make a name for themselves.
Yeah.
I'll tag someone even before I knew someone. Like, I tagged Benji before I really talked to him because it was something about a door. It was relevant to him. I kind of figured he would like it. But to spam tag people and stuff, it's going to get your post flagged. They're going to remove the tags. Little known fact, if you tag someone on LinkedIn and they don't respond to it, if they don't comment, repost it, like it within, I think it's an hour, maybe it's 3 hours, it actually starts to move it down in the priority on the algorithm. So it makes it less likely people see if they're not responding to your tags. So you don't want to just, you want to tag 1,000 people, and you also don't want to put 1,000 hashtags on it. I mean, I think LinkedIn recommends 3 to 5. I wouldn't do any more than 5 or 6. If you work them into the text, it flows a little better too. But I would say the content is number one. And in general, aside from the content, is being active, looking at other stuff, within your field, within your industry, and, commenting on other people's things. You want people to follow you, and, that it all comes down to the content and visibility. And if you're not doing anything with it, you're not going to get discovered.
Yeah. Yep.
And again, it is time consuming. No, gosh. What about the tagging?
Yeah, probably.
Again, if you tag 10 people, it's something, not a big deal. I'm talking about the people. You'll see these posts. You've been tagged in them, I'm sure.
Yeah, like somebody, 20 people on there, yeah.
Somebody you've never met, they post something that's barely relevant to you, and they got 100 tags on there, which I'm flattered to be thought of, but at the same time, those are the ones I'm going to remove my tag from. It's, if it's not relevant to me, my network, it's spam. So.
Bear has another question. Do you focus on any client relations in your role, like Christmas packages, Topgolf outings, etc.?
So we've discussed more and more, obviously, as we're growing in size here, we've discussed more, client events and stuff like that we could be doing. And honestly, a lot of the stuff, a lot of like big events that we do, a lot of our clients will come to it. And the thing is, we're a family business, so we're friends with a lot of our clients. We've had relations with them for 20 plus years. I mean, we've been in business for almost 50. So we do a lot of, anytime we do a company event, usually there's clients there anyway. I will say our grand opening is going to be coming up. Those are big events for our clients because we opened a new office in Buffalo, had a ton of clients come to that, had quite a spread of, food, drinks, and some live music there.
Open house is a great idea.
Oh yeah, I do quite a bit with clients. I mean, I'm kind of an overflow salesperson too. If somebody calls in needing information and a salesperson's not here, or if they're on the phone, I'll take it and talk to them. I'm personally constantly thinking of ways we can get in front of clients more. So if it's something I think can resonate with them, it's something I'll jump into. I don't think we have a Top Golf very close to us. Otherwise, I would be all about that. I will say, Cooper is an avid golfer and definitely the best golfer I've ever been on a course with. I know he golfs quite a bit with our clients. The salespeople, they've got relations with a lot of our clients they'll golf with. We sponsor quite a bit for our clients as well. Especially a lot of the ones we've done business for a while. There's a lot of them who will sponsor different events they have coming up. We've sponsored a little league team. That's a big thing we do with our clients. We try to sponsor causes, events they're doing, whether it's sponsoring a hole of golf or, a table at a networking event. We're pretty involved with definitely the Syracuse community. As our Buffalo, force is growing out there as well. We're part of the Buffalo Niagara partnership. So we go to basically every event that they do. And the little league team we sponsored was in Buffalo. But I seek out the opportunities quite a bit. There's so much out there. I mean, you could sponsor so many things and, run out of money very quickly doing it if you're someone like me who wants to sponsor everything. But yeah, we're very, we're very involved though.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, no, sponsoring is a great way to get your name out there, get your banner on that little league field. It's important to also, invest in your community. If you're, especially a small, family-owned business, invest in your community, become a household name, and like you said, somebody's like, hey, I need something for security. They already have, Eastern Security Services in their mind. They can picture that logo, and getting your brand out there is very important.
Absolutely. And like the movement now in security, like so many, I feel like, when I'm on, when I listen to podcasts or when I'm on, like different calls and stuff like that, like there's so many people who want to get out of resi. They've given up on it. They've thrown in the towel. Like I can't compete with, these DIY kits, or I can't compete with such and such company. And everyone wants to move into commercial. And, for Eastern, we've been in business almost 50 years. In Syracuse anyway, we're probably, 70-30, residential, commercial to residential. But, with residential, like these are the people who are also making decisions in businesses. These are also the CEOs, the director of IT, the receptionist. The receptionist has a great experience with you. All of a sudden, when the security, craps the bed at their office, they're going to say, hey, boss, like, have you heard of Eastern Security? It's so important to maintain those relations with actual buyers and not just companies.
Yep. Putting, they're not just numbers, they're faces, they're people.
Exactly. And I actually do quite a bit of networking events too, personally. Like there's a few organizations I'm members in Syracuse. So that's another big thing to continue on Bear's question. I'm involved with those.
Yeah, that's important too. Especially also getting to your local ASIS chapter, go to a couple of those meetings. Those are huge for networking. I know people that do Toastmasters and stuff like that. So yeah, get in the community, get a group. I'm also curious, it's kind of on that, Christmas package, Top Golf stuff, but do you guys do branded merch giveaways, and do you see any ROI on that?
So this one's not a giveaway. This isn't a giveaway. This is my baby. This is personal. Nobody's getting this from me. I'll be buried with that like a pharaoh. We did a branded Yeti giveaway the last 2 summers, which it was the big boy. It's like the Tundra 45 cooler we had branded. And both times, it was a social media giveaway. So it was, you got to like this page, comment, share it with 2 people, repost. And each of those, we gained a few hundred followers each time. And it was really big on LinkedIn. Last year was the first one that we had done it on Instagram and TikTok as well. It ended up with, the cool thing was somebody locally in Syracuse actually won it. Who's
nice.
like, she's with an organization that works with small businesses. So it really went to a phenomenal person. But we, as far as like, direct ROI on it, it's not like, we gave away a Yeti and made 10 grand because of it, but we gained, hundreds of followers. And I think the goal with those is always brand recognition. It's getting your name in front of more people, obviously. And that's a pretty big thing to give away. Realistically, especially for a smaller company, they probably wouldn't want to start with that. Anytime you're doing a giveaway, you want it to be something that's useful, something that people actually like and not just throw away. So, we have golf balls, we've got branded golf balls. I couldn't tell you the brand of them because I'm personally not a golfer. We've got branded JBL little mini Wi-Fi speaker or Bluetooth speakers. Again,
nice.
not giveaways. Those were, gifts to employees, and a couple of clients ended up getting those. I think we gave away a couple for Law Enforcement Appreciation Day last month. And for giveaways, it's got to be useful. You're going to go to ISC West. You're going to see a ton of giveaways there. And some people go to some of these tables just for the giveaway. I mean, I talked to a guy who said he always goes to, I can't remember which booth it was, but he always goes there just for their little mini screwdriver. I'm personally, I'm always on the prowl for a good snapback hat. So, write that one down, vendors. If you got a good snapback, send it my way here. I'll come find you. But, Phil Coppola.
IC and GSX got some weak merch game.
Oh,
they got to step it up.
Phil Coppola, he always raves about the chapstick that one of the companies gives away. But yeah, I mean, it's all about something that's cost effective, of course, but also useful. That's not going to get thrown out. So I'm the biggest proponent of branding, branded merch that you'll ever meet.
Yeah, the big one was Access Communications chapstick and Milestone mints.
Oh, okay.
Everybody liked those for some reason. I don't know why, but
I'm going to give credit to Centrios, actually. Centrios and then Adam is right. They each had amazing snapback hats at ISC West last year, and they weren't just out there. They weren't just out there for the taking. I stopped at each booth for a while, really talked to them, exchange information there, and you got to be a special guy to earn these hats. But I've got a huge. I came back with 5 or 6 hats from ISC West. Bear, he wears the Centrios one all the time. He'd agree with me on that one. Yeah.
You gotta, so you know how to play the game. You can't just be going around with your bag, scooping stuff into your bag. You got to actually talk to them. That makes sense. They keep the good stuff in the back.
Oh, absolutely.
That's funny. You got any projects that you're currently working on that are exciting to you and that you want to share?
Well, the nature of, being a security business, if I told you, I'd have to kill you. I discussed one of the big ones, obviously getting all of our tech support videos on YouTube for both Intelitech and Eastern. That's a big one, and that takes some time. The original thought was to shoot these all in-house, which we'll probably have to for some of them. Not every company, has all these ready to go, ready to brand. DMP honestly surprised me how quickly they got me them for Intelitech. And anyone who's a DMP dealer, I mean, it's a free service they offer. And it's so cool. It's so valuable to be able to put, have your name on it. And they don't have, copyright restrictions. You can put it right on your website. It's such an invaluable tool, for your clients. So that's a big one we've been doing. Obviously, we're always shooting new content here. And I've got so many things just ready to go that we don't want to be spammy and post 100 times in a day. So it's all just about peppering them in at the right time. I will say, though, that, and especially, you and I have talked quite a bit about marketing, as have me, Bear, Josh. A big project that we've been working on now for a little bit here is Cooper and I are starting a marketing agency. And I'm not going to unveil too many details on it now, but basically a lot of the creative video work that we've done for Eastern, for Intelitech, we'll be able to offer on a larger scale to other, integrators, manufacturers as well, who realistically, they either, they might not have the time for it. They might not have the funds for some of these, multi-million-dollar agencies that are charging,
Right.
30 grand for a whole year, for a small family-run integrator. We're doing a lot of that, web design. On that topic, Intelitech's, website is also one that I'm working on right now, and kind of bringing that up into, 2025. So we are busy. We got a lot of great stuff cooking. ISC West, I'm going to unveil, some more details to, select few on this marketing agency. But it's going to be basically, what we did for Eastern and Intelitech, just for, a much larger scale for anybody who wants to win a Sammy Award.
That's awesome. Are you going to stick with Eastern and Intelitech, or are they going to just
Yeah.
bring you on as a consultant?
So that's obviously, we're just kind of kicking this off. We've, floated a bunch of different things, but, Eastern and Intelitech will always be my home. So it's, one of those things, we got to figure out the semantics of it as it grows. Am I, off of Eastern and just taking them on as clients? But, ultimately I'm working with Cooper McNell on this. So, our priority, of course, is, Eastern and Intelitech here. And then this, the marketing venture here is going to be something that we grow, starting out from, realistically from nothing here, and figure out the semantics as it goes. Good, it could always flop too. But we're putting in all the creative genius that we've done for Eastern and Intelitech, to again, to companies that don't have a Vinny necessarily.
No, yeah. Josh even put in the chat, you'll do great. We're excited for you. We're all here to support. And this sounds exciting. You're brave for going out there and doing it. So I think you're going to do great. I mean, everything you touch turns to gold. So
like King Midas, apparently. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I love the support from you guys. Our industry, one of the things I love about it is it's such a supportive industry. And even, it's one, again, whose marketing has always been, fairly conservative, but this industry is so tight-knit. As big of an industry as it is, it's still very small. You go to these, big trade shows and you always see, familiar faces, you meet new people, but the support is, in my opinion, having worked in multiple industries, unmatched.
Nice. Would you recommend other security companies invest in marketing professionals? I think we kind of went over that a little bit already, so we can skip that one. And then you guys are starting your own, so we're good there. I think we're pretty much done with our topics. I really appreciate you being on. I have one final question. As kind of your marketing expertise, now that I have you one-on-one here and I get to ask you whatever I want, how would you say, you've kind of been part of the Deadbolt community for a little bit now. What would you say we can do better marketing-wise, or how can we grow engagement inside Deadbolt? What are some of your ideas?
I think what you've done now to, not necessarily a reboot, to bring back, these speaking events, to do them live. I mean, that is also really cool as well. It's a lot more authentic, and then it's still going to be on, the other, streaming platforms so people can watch it, listen to it on Spotify. I think that's huge, and you've really killed it. These first few weeks, what you've got, what you've already done and what you have coming up, it's going to be crazy. I think you're going to draw a lot of engagement there. Definitely identifying, people who you want to be on, who people are going to, engage with, have questions with, who are going to be good, on air, realistically.
Yeah.
I think keep doing this, keep sticking with it, keep bringing on solid guests. And, obviously, for me, I feel much newer to the industry compared to, the rest of your guest list. But I think this, and also just having people passionate about it. I mean, you're running this space. You've got, the other founders on here, always be inviting people to follow it. I think LinkedIn gives you 250 invitations to send out a month to follow.
Yeah.
Send out every single one. Check it a weekend. Anyone who's accepted, you get those invitations back. Send out more. Keep sending and sending. Keep drawing more people in the industry into it. And who cares if they don't follow? There's nothing lost if they don't follow. But just send it. Use as many as you can. The other members you have on here, people who are engaged. Ask them. Ask them to also invite people to it as well. You could, it's all about engagement, and you've got a lot of big fans. You got a lot of support. Utilize that, and make sure we're getting out these invitations, and keep doing these for sure.
Sweet, cool. I'm glad I'm on the right track then. Awesome. So if you're listening in your car and you're not in the Deadbolt Society main network, make sure you get on here. It's free. You can go on our LinkedIn page and, go to the website and just sign up. We're trying to build something here that I believe is, hasn't been done for the security industry before. Building a community, that is just dedicated to security professionals of all walks. And yeah, let's just do it together. I appreciate you coming on, Vinny. Thank you so much. And I think we're going to call it good.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having me. I had a good time talking to you and answering, 20 questions with Uncle Bear here.
Yeah. Thanks, Bear, for your participation. All right. See you guys.
Thanks, guys.